Hello everybody again. Uh, Thanks for checking out my tips in 2012. Kind of want to revisit library features with tip number 5. Really, as I mentioned, getting a lot of customers lately that have been asking about library features and how to create them. Something that just isn't covered well for those that go through the training classes with SolidWorks. Just wanted to take a minute to kind of discuss how we actually create these, get them into the library, and use and configure them. So this particular customer was looking for, just basically a cut in a block. Had some additional features, something like these here. They do die blocks and have a lot of inserts they use these for, so a lot of standard sizes that they just want to be able to quickly drop in. Pick a few edges, dimension, locations, sizes, those types of things, and be done. So let's take a look, see how that's created. So basically a library feature really starts from just a standard feature in SolidWorks, and how you create that feature really makes or breaks how the library feature actually functions. So you really want to take great care in what you're doing here, because otherwise it may ask you to pick additional points or edges, faces, axes, those types of things that you don't want to actually have to select when placing the library feature. So for instance here, just kind of a dummy block that I've created. I'm just going to create my sketch as I would normally. Let's just maybe do a rectangle here, nothing fancy. What I'm going to do here in this particular instance is do an offset of that rectangle to the inside, and that inner rectangle is going to help me locate maybe the circles. I'm going to make that construction that basically would be in the four corners. So maybe these four circles, for instance, aren't right at the tips of the outer rectangle cut. They're kind of inset in a little bit. That's basically all I'm doing here. So just use your sketch relations as you would. I'm going to make all four of those circles equal to each other. I'm going to do some trimming here. So we'll just use power trim, and we can trim away something like this, and same over here. And again, you could choose to sketch this however you want. If you'd rather mirror entities, those types of things, any of those methods is fine. Finally, we'll just add a couple dimensions for size here. Okay. What I want to make sure you understand here, I'm being careful not to dimension or pick up on sketch relations of the existing block. Okay, so I don't want to infer a sketch relation like to the origin is the common mistake. I could have sketched this rectangle right off the origin, but if I do that, when I go and place the library feature, SolidWorks is always going to ask me to choose an origin point, and I might not always have that for placement. So what I'm going to do here is I want to always locate the center of my cut, maybe off two edges of a block. Okay? So what I'm going to do is actually draw a center line and basically put a point of reference out here in the middle. So I'm just going to place a sketch point here, and I'm going to use that for dimensioning to the edge of my block. So I'm dimensioning to the center of my square, in this case, rectangle, whatever it's going to be, and to the edge of the block. Maybe we'll use this edge as well. Now by dimensioning to the edge of the block, what SolidWorks is going to do is ask me to select two edges when I place the library feature for final placement of the cut that I'm about to create here. So again, these two dimensions are key because I've dimensioned to the block edges. It's basically going to ask me for two edges for placement in the end. So we'll just create an extruded cut here. I'll just do a through all. Again, whatever end condition you use here is what's going to carry over in your library feature, and I'll hit OK to that. And I just like to show people this. I purposely didn't add sketch fillets. You could sketch fillet that sketch so you don't have this additional feature, but I like to come in here and select the edges as a separate fillet feature just to show people. Let's do a 1/2 inch fillet. That's fine. It doesn't really matter what it's going to be. But that way you can see I'm going to actually include both the cut extrude and the fillet as part of my library feature. Okay, and if you want to rename this feature, you can do that. Other things that you could do at this point is if you want these features to always to have a certain face color, as an example, you could go and color them. So maybe I color the feature some different color here. I always want them to show up as blue, and then maybe I select that fillet feature as well. That'll kind of carry over as well into your library feature. So just additional things that you can do kind of as a bonus when you create the library feature. Okay. Again, you can save this test block. It's not super important because we're going to actually create a library feature part here coming up next. Okay, so we're going to create a library feature now, and I usually just do this right through the design library. Again, in the design library you might have a folder. I'm just going to use this folder called test folder, but create your own design library, maybe for your parts, and all I'm going to do is say add to library here. So I'm going to hit the add to library button. I'm going to kind of cross back over to the left side of the screen here, and the items I want to add are my cut extrude 1 and my fillet 1. Okay, I can give it a name. This is the name of my library feature, so I might call it die insert cut or something like that. Choosing my folder that I want to put it in my design library. So this is just your design library here, however many different libraries you have. I'm going to put it in my test folder. We want this to be a library feature part. And basically, if you want a tooltip to show up on top of that when you hover over it, that's what this description field is here. So I could say, drag and drop on a planar face or something like that. And that'll show up when I hover over that in the library. Basically, though, I hit OK, and it's actually created a library feature part. Now, a little confusing is that's what you see in the feature tree, but it doesn't really show the new extension in SolidWorks. So what I typically do is I just close this guy. You can save it if you want. You don't really need to. And then I go to the library itself, go into my test folder. You might have to hit refresh here, but if I go in my test folder, here's my die insert cut that I just created, and I right click and open that guy right from the library. Now why do I do this? Well, there's a few other things that we can add into the actual library feature. Okay, and this is where it's a little different than a regular SolidWorks part now. You'll see a little L. It's hard to probably see in the video here. There's a little L symbol on the feature itself telling you what's the library feature. And if you go into this references folder here, which is different than a regular SolidWorks part file, it'll tell you that you're going to need to have a placement plane. So you're going to drag and drop on a placement plane. Good. And then here's those two edges that I dimensioned to, which is going to help you finally, finish locating this when you use it. The other thing we're going to look at here is the dimensions area. So if you had renamed the dimensions in SolidWorks, which would have been a good task, these would be a little more descriptive, but these are every dimension in the sketch of the library features. And what we can do here is we can move certain dimensions into these subfolders. And if I move, for instance, this D5 dimension, which is one of the ones I used to locate off the edge, into the locating dimensions folder, I'm going to do the same thing here with the D6 dimension. What SolidWorks is going to do when I use this library feature is prompt me to change the value on the fly, so I can quickly locate this wherever I want. If you put something into this internal dimensions folder, you as a user won't be able to see that dimension or change it at all. Maybe the fillet cannot be changed at all, or the offset that I use for the rectangle. So I would put that into the internal dimensions. But if I don't put those in there, these will be able to be overridden as well. So if I did want to, for some reason, create maybe something a little different that has a different fillet radius, a different size, offset, whatever, I can do that on the fly as well. So just a save here will update your library feature, and you're good to go. So other people might want to do as well is build different sizes here. So again, I might use a design table here or configurations. You can do these manually. It doesn't really matter. But real quickly here, I just might create a quick design table. I believe I want dimensions D2 and D3. And these are the actual size of the cutout. So if I want to do maybe more square sizes, more rectangles, a combination of the two, I'm gonna just cheat here. I got a Excel sheet saved with some config names and sizes here. But normally you could quickly go and do this. I'm just going to cut and paste those here into the SOLIDWORKS design table. But now I've actually added a bunch of different configurations to my library feature as well. So you can see those here. And I can resize those accordingly. And what's really slick about that is that'll carry over into the library feature now from here on out. So basically you just hit a save and you're ready to rock and roll. We've kind of located dimensions how we want or use those for different purposes. I'll go and close that. And let's go ahead and open up a test file here. Maybe we'll just use this block here, something a little different. And let's test it out. So go into my library. I'm just going to hit refresh, make sure it's up to date. Again, it captures this little image here as well when you create the library feature. So if you're zoomed in nice and tight, when you actually create the library feature, that's when it captures this little bitmap. But anyways, here we go. So we're going to drag and drop on a face. We'll just drop it over here. Because I built configurations using a design table, here's the different sizes I can choose. Perhaps maybe let's just do something a little different. Maybe I want to do a 4x3 as an example. And then SOLIDWORKS prompts you to go and select the two edges. Okay, a lot of people are confused. They see this little pop-up come up and they think they have to do something in here. It's just a visual guide trying to tell you need to select an edge, this edge on the part that you're actually placing the library feature on. So it's telling me select an edge, maybe this edge here. So I'll select that edge. And then you'll see it changes to highlight a different edge, 90 degrees to that. So I'll go ahead and select the bottom edge of the actual block here, and that'll finish locating my library feature. Here's where I can locate those dimensions differently now because I had chose that and dropped those into the appropriate folder in the library feature itself. Maybe I want this to be 3 inches over and maybe 3 inches down. And you can kind of see that shifting around. If I move it around a little bit, make it 2 inches, you can see it dynamically move on the fly. Here's all the other dimensions that I chose not to put into the internal dimensions folder. So I could come in here and actually override a value on the fly here if I wanted as well. But that's it. It's ready to go. We're good. You hit the check mark and you've just placed your library feature into your part and you're ready to rock and roll from here on out. So a little tip on adding library features, how to do it. Hopefully it was helpful. Of course, don't forget, no die insert wouldn't be complete without, of course, your company logo. I'm sure everybody's doing this. So make sure you get that library feature built for your company logo. Drag and drop it in there to promptly display your company's worth with library features.